Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Sasquatch Watch Radio with your host, Billy Willard, and the Blog Squatter. Strap in, hold on tight, get ready, because it is about to go down.
All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is Monday, September 14th, 2009. Our guest has not showed up yet, but the moment he shows up, we'll get him on the air. But that's okay because it leaves us time to invite our wonderful co-host, the Blog Squatcher, to the air. How you doing tonight, DB?
I'm doing great, Billy. How about yourself?
Doing just fine. Doing better, let's put it that way. I was feeling pretty bad yesterday, but I went to bed at about 4 p.m. in the afternoon, woke up about 9 o'clock, stayed up for an hour, and went back to bed, and I got up this morning, I was feeling better.
Yeah. Good.
So, I think I maybe just needed some sleep. I don't know.
That could be.
Could be.
You don't
anyway.
Because of your job.
Yeah, well, no, it's not so much that. I stayed up pretty late Saturday night. Didn't get home till like 3:30 in the morning, and I think that had a little bit to do with it because I was up at 7 o'clock. So within a few hours I was up, and that's probably what did it. But anyway, I'm feeling good now. I'm fine. And how about you? How's you and your family?
We're all just in fine health. Everything here is in good shape right now, which, I just wonder how long is it going to last, because all my kids have gone to school, and everybody's talking about the swine flu, and then you just got your regular flu, and that's where you get it, is when the kids go to school, so.
Yep.
We have it coming for us. Yeah.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So have you gotten any news for us today?
Well, I got a couple of things.
Right.
I'm pretty sure most of our listeners will have heard about a screen capture that made it onto CNN. That if you blow it up, it kind of looks like it could be some ape-like thing with long arms and hair. But I've seen some pretty convincing demonstrations that it's probably a crow that isn't as far away as you think it is. It's much closer to the camera. It's flying in between the camera and the corn feeder, which is, that's where it would be going. It wants to go down there and get that corn. And it just happened to be snapped at the exact right moment for it to create the illusion that it was something more in the distance. And,
like as if its wings were close to the chest. Right.
And so it's a little disappointing that it turns out to be, another picture that's not what we hoped it was. But what I was really interested in were two parts of that. One is that there are still a lot of people who just don't want to hear the crow, the crow solution. They say, no, that's not a crow because I can see this. Once you started seeing it one way, it's hard to see it another way. So it's hard for them to fit that crow in there. Right. And I hadn't made my mind up when somebody said, look, it could be a crow. If you look here, this would be this way. And then I said, oh, yeah, you're right. That could be a crow. But had I let myself see it some other way, I might be saying, no, that's got to be the flexed arm.
Right.
So that's one thing that I would be interested in talking about, how our brains do that. There's a well-known thing, and it's a word that I won't be able to say right, I don't think, pareidolia. Have you heard that one before? I think you might have heard that before. Yeah, that's when you see something in what's really just random noise. So it's like a bunch of dots all together. But if you look at it the right way, you can see a shape in the dots. But it's your brain that's kind of making that. It's creating order out of the chaos that's in front of you. That's what your brain is for. It does that. I mean, that's supposed to pick order out of what's otherwise a chaotic bunch of sensations that are coming in. So that's partly to blame for things like this. Like, you see the picture, and once you've seen it as a a certain thing, it's hard to unsee it.
Right.
So that's an issue.
Hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
Is unsee it a English word?
I don't think so. I think I just made that up. I like it though. There's the other half of this.
We understand it.
Yeah. I make up words all the time. There's the other half of this that I was interested in, and that is that it just went straight to CNN. It was just a couple of days between, hey, I got this weird picture, to CNN. So, I think it's partly because of what happened last summer,
Yeah. Yeah.
That they're now kind of hungry for it. They like that feeding frenzy, and anytime they think they might get another one. So what that tells me is that the press, even though they're going to make fun of Bigfoot believers whenever they, talk about Bigfoot, more often than not.
Right.
They're still kind of primed for it. If we ever got, right now, if we could get an actual picture, an actual photograph or film, I think the press would be all over it in a heartbeat. Right. And I'm not sure they would, be so quick to debunk it. Partly that's because they want to feed the frenzy.
Right.
But that would be good for us. If we got the evidence. Unfortunately, we don't have it right yet.
Yeah.
Got to be something.
Yeah,
and not look at the old stuff now.
Right. Yeah, and I agree with you. One thing that this whole article shows is that it still gets a lot of attention, and I really don't think the news media, when they first got it, I don't think they fully knew what they were looking at either. They thought, hey, I don't know, maybe it is something. We need to put this on the air, So, yeah, I think I think there's still interest out there with the media as well as the public. So, that's good. That just means that everybody's still kind of paying attention.
Yeah, they're paying attention, but I'm sure that will fade. So, like the expression "strike while the iron is hot." Well, the iron is hot right now, but you can't. This is something that you just can't force. We can't say, okay, well, now we're going to go out and get a picture, because we've been trying to do that for 50 years.
Right, exactly. That's exactly right.
If we happen to strike gold right now, I think it would be a time in which the evidence would at least get out to where people could see it.
Right.
Which might not have happened in an earlier era.
Right.
All right, so that's one thing that caught my attention. There's another thing. Well,
all right.
Or is the guest here? If the guest's here, I'll leave it at that.
The guest is not here yet, so but just in case he either misplaced the phone number or whatever, I'll give that out. That call-in number is 347-237-5070. I'll give that number out again because if he doesn't show up, we might have to have one of those round table / call-in shows. So it'll be our first, folks. We've never had to do that.
Well, we've had some issue shows, so it's not like we wouldn't know how to do it.
That's
I
true.
think we pull it off.
So here's the number again, 347-237-5070. All right, go ahead and continue with the next news article.
Well, the next one is interesting in another way, and that is that I think, about a month, maybe 2 months ago, I was talking about something that happened, and I said, and see how the scientists are always so quick to say that it isn't what the native person thinks it is. It had to do with the crow in the pitcher. You might remember that big. There's the Aesop fable, the crow in the pitcher. And it turns out crows really will drop rocks into the pitcher to raise the water level. But nobody believed it until they observed it themselves. You can't take somebody's word for it. Well, here is another thing that nobody would take your word for it, and that is that I hope I don't mispronounce this, the Maori, who are natives from New Zealand, I think, they had a what we would have called a myth that there was a giant bird that used to, swoop down and pick up kids,
right,
and take them away and eat them. Well, when scientists, and this is more than 100 years ago, when scientists first heard that, they were like, oh, that's a myth. We don't have to worry about that. That's not true. And then they found the bird. They found the bird that would fit the description that the Maori had given them. But they said, well, but birds that size are never predators. They have to be scavengers. So they still doubted the story. They said, okay, well, there was a bird, and you guys just made a myth out of the bird. Well, now a new study has revealed that eagle was a predator that could have taken children and, taken them up to eat them. So it only took like 150 years for, the Maori said, okay, hey, you know what we know? We know that there is or was this bird that would swoop down and get your kids. 150 years later, science finally catches up and says, oh, you know what? There was a bird. So they're saying the same thing, but, what these things never do, which I think they might, it might suggest to you, maybe we should listen to what the natives, say about their natural world, because they have lived there. They are good observers. If they weren't, they'd be dead. There wouldn't be any natives there.
Right.
But that doesn't appear to ever, become part of the conversation. Instead, it's, well, no, it couldn't have been that bird was there. Oh, yeah, the bird was there, but it couldn't have been a predator that actually would eat human beings. And now do you know what? Those birds actually would eat people. And 150 years ago, the Maori were telling us that. Right. Well, you know why I brought that up, right?
Yep. Why did you bring it up?
Because the Native Americans in the United States and Canada, and also going on down into Mexico and further south, have these stories that they've told from, time immemorial. Oh, yeah, there are these big hairy guys. They're kind of hard to catch. They've got, centuries of these stories.
Right.
And, we scientists, Western science, doesn't believe a word of it.
Yeah, I know. It's very true. I've always been interested to hear what they have to say about that subject, and I wish we could find some here in the area of Virginia. That's one thing I'd really like to do, but they're hard to really come by right now. Not in this area, anyway.
Yeah, I think there are two reservations still in the state of Virginia, but they're very small.
Yeah.
And I asked around to see if any Bigfoot researchers had ever contacted any of them. I mean, they're pretty far on the East Coast, so it would only be very recently that a researcher would think it was worth their while. And so far as I know, no one has.
Right. Yeah, I don't know of any either. But
the problem I have, and you might have the same problem, is I can imagine calling them up. I mean, you'd be calling up like the information desk, and then you say, so does anybody there know anything about Bigfoot? I can just imagine that, next thing you hear is a click, click. I don't think you want to ease your way into somehow. So.
It's kind of that's kind of like when we went up to Prince William Forest Park. It was me and Charlie and Jason went up there, and when we asked the question, the two ladies at the front desk started laughing.
Right.
And of course, I had Charlie there. Him and his many years of police detective, personality. He didn't find their laughter very funny. So Charlie says, "Well, excuse me, we're serious. Now I'd like to see your supervisor." They stopped laughing, and then they went and got the supervisor. And she was actually very helpful. I mean, she goes, there's sightings that date back to, back when they had the CCC camps here at the forest park, and she said things date back from, back when they did some pyrite mining and stuff like that out there, and then she even showed me even the guest book. There's people that visit the park and have put things in there about seeing something. I mean, it's really funny. It's there's more information there that you really realize. And then she told me that if she can, that she'll try to find some of the old writings that date back to when they were mining out there. I'm very interested in that if we can find that, and really see what all's been reported out there way back there, during all that mining.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that kind of stuff is interesting when it comes to history, learning about certain areas. Well, our guest still hasn't showed up, folks. I guess we're going to do maybe if he shows up later or something, we can get him on. I know that his time zone should be only 1 hour behind us here on the East Coast. We're at 9 o'clock, so he was supposed to call in about 5 minutes to 8 his time. But maybe something happened or whatever, so... Anyway, we'll just wing this tonight, and maybe we'll come up with something we can talk about. DB might even have a good idea of some things we could discuss tonight, and we could always have you guys call in. If anybody wants to bring up a subject, and we'll talk about it. There's plenty of things to talk about, I'm sure. I'll give out the number again. It's area code 347-237-5070. Again, it's 347-237-5070. DB, do you have any ideas for tonight?
Well, I was scanning the chat to see what the chatters were going to suggest to us. And they're always just a little bit behind the audio feed, so I don't think they've caught up to it yet. Or they're not listening. Because there's no talk about
That's usually the case. They're usually just in there chatting away. I think most of them listen to the recording later, and they just come here to meet each other and chat.
Well, there's
I know
always
typically,
things
there's always things we can talk. So let's. Well, there we got a taker. I know who this is. What do you got to say tonight, Henry May? Can you hear us, Henry? Are we having trouble with our audio, with our switchboard?
No, I had to bring Bill Green on.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
That's what it was, yeah.
All we heard was silence.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I had to switch lines, I had to switch because I got three-way calling and all that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
How you doing, DB?
Hang on, Bill.
Good, Bill. What's up?
Well, I was just going to say, I'm very interested in this bird squatch story. Of course, I think it is just a bird, a crow. But even if it were a real photo of a Sasquatch, it's nothing more than a blob squatch. It really doesn't get us any closer to solving the mystery.
But I got a little thing to ask about that. And I mentioned that on your thing today, DB. What if it's an extinct gorilla? I mean, people have pet gorillas and all kinds of primates. And what if it is some sort of primate, for argument's sake?
Well, it would be pretty big if that actually was a gorilla. In fact, it would be too big to be a gorilla because of the size of that golden flowered plant that stands there. That's 5 feet tall, and this thing apparently towers over that, and it's supposed to be seated. So you would have to imagine, okay, it's from the butt up to the top of the head. It's 6 feet, so when it stands up, it's going to be 8, 9, 10 feet tall. So there's no way that could be a gorilla.
Yeah, that would definitely be
Billy,
too tall.
It'd be good or great if you guys could someday maybe interview that man about that photo or whatever. That'd be one interview to do for the near future. I mean, if you guys.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a bad idea if I can get in touch with him and talk him into coming on the show. And I get the impression from him when I watched the news story that he also wasn't convinced that he had captured anything. I mean, he was pretty he was joking around quite a bit at the end of that one interview, saying, I don't think we've got Bigfoot here, but so he was kind of making a little bit of fun of it himself. So I don't think that he was fully convinced either that that's what he had. He just wasn't sure. I know that I'm not 100% sure about this, but I'm thinking that the first person who coined that as a bird or a crow, I think, was Bill Dringennis.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. So, you know, he was pretty convinced that that's what it was, and he's usually pretty good at looking at that stuff and getting a. I think what it is he when he looks at those pictures, he doesn't look at the picture to see if it's Bigfoot. You know what I'm saying? He looks at it with a non-objective. He just turns it on and says, okay. The first thing he looks at it. He's not trying to think that he's looking for Bigfoot. I think he kind of remains kind of neutral when he's looking at the pictures, and I think that's how he figures it out. But after I looked at the photo after he had mentioned that, and I got to look at it, I was like, wow, you know, that really is what it looks like, because right at the bottom, I don't know if anybody ever noticed, but right at the bottom, where the bottom of the, whatever it is, creature, bird, whatever, at the bottom, it's such a perfect straight line at the grass, and just disappears.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, if there was something sitting in there, I think you would see, like, shades of black within that grass. That was the first thing I thought of. And it just looked like it just cut off so nice and even right at the top of the grass. So,
and let's always remember, we should all remember what could be also could not be.
Right. Right.
So,
yeah, we were kind of joking around the other day. I was talking to somebody on the phone, and I said, you know, none of us is going to be satisfied with a photo until we get a photo of what looks like Bigfoot posing at Olin Mills for a self-portrait.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah. It's going to have to be that good, I think.
Yeah, and just, you know, Billy, I've been hearing so many rumors lately about different photos supposedly coming out in this near future. It's pathetic, you know. You know, I mean, just rumors, and we can't deal with rumors. We need to deal with facts.
Yeah, you know,
you know.
Yeah, I think we all get used to people saying about, oh, I'm gonna show you this photo, and then we're disappointed when we see it, because that was another discussion we had the other day, is, you know, when you get these photos and you have these what appears to be some kind of dark shadowed figures or whatever in the woods or in the wood line, you know, we look at it and we're like, well, that could be a stump, or that could be, some kind of a shade effect or whatever. But, you know, that doesn't mean that's not what it is. I mean, whoever took the picture may have been able to see things that we couldn't see. In other words, they may have seen it move. They know there's something there, and they snapped the picture, so they know what they saw. You know, so we can't say that none of those pictures are, you know, definitely not Bigfoot. The person who was there probably had a better impression of what they were seeing than we do. So, but my point is if I do see something and I snap a picture, you know, and I can't make out what it is, if I wasn't there and I can't make out what it is, you know, and this is just my personal opinion, I wouldn't show it. Yeah. I would say, you know, I know what was there. I snapped the picture, but looking at my picture, I can't make out what it is. So,
right,
I'll just put this in the archives.
Well, I'll give you an example. I took a picture in southeastern Ohio last year, which could have been of a Sasquatch, but I don't really know for sure. I've looked at it, and then I've had it analyzed, and I can't make heads or tails of it. It appears to be a Sasquatch walking from left to right and looking off to the right of the picture. But again, you know, I can't say for sure what it is. You know, and I have never come out and said, yes, that's a picture of a Sasquatch. I've never done that.
Right. Yeah, because again, because you can look at it and you know that you saw something there, but you know that if you show it to someone else, it's not going to convince them.
Right, exactly.
And that's, exactly. So,
Billy, what's new up in Virginia about Bigfoot activity, footprints, and yada, yada, yada?
There comes the standard
question.
Well,
let's see. In Virginia, I haven't had any. The last thing I had was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, down in Danville, Virginia. I may have already talked about this. I can't remember. It was a road crossing. fellow was driving on a road that heads from Danville, Virginia, towards the North Carolina border, and saw a creature walk out in front of his truck. The only thing he really said was, that was either a bear that was able to walk on two legs, or one huge hairy man. So
yeah,
I've got someone working on that. So
yeah, were there any footprints found after the sighting or any other evidence?
no, nothing yet. Nothing yet. The investigators probably will go out to the site and have a look around, but I haven't heard back from them, so I'm not sure if they've been out and checked everything out real good or not. I think it's all private land, so we have to proceed pretty carefully out there. We don't want to, get on somebody's land without their permission. So.
Yeah, I guess here Pennsylvania is getting pretty hot as far as possible activity now.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
That's all right. That'll keep Eric busy.
Yeah. And stuff.
Yep.
I hope their investigation on that Fate County report is doing good. I mean, that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, they get some good stuff up there. I wish we could get as many sightings as they've gotten, but.
Yeah, I want to go next year. I might be going to Pennsylvania. I want to visit Chestnut Ridge, that famous area. Bring my camera.
That's a good area.
Cool.
You would like that.
Yeah, I've seen photos of the area. It looks pretty neat, and
yep.
just to visit it, to know that I was there, But,
right.
Yeah, but watch out for bears, Bill.
Yeah, there's bear out there.
Yeah.
But as long as you're with somebody.
Might be mountain lions or cougars out there too.
Yeah, as long as you're with somebody, I always recommend the buddy system. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, you could get out there and fall in a hole, break your ankle, or anything can happen.
Yeah.
It's a good thing Phil Brocco had somebody with him that one time. I fell in the hole. Well, get out of it.
That's right. That's right. Thank God my chair was there. He about broke my chair trying to get out of it.
Oh, God.
Oh, goodness sakes.
So, DB, what's new with your Sasquatch research, and do you have any future articles you're going to put in your blog in the upcoming weeks?
I have some that are kicking around in the back of my mind, but I wouldn't want to bring them up yet because I don't have them all thought out. I don't have anything happening in the research, actually. The research areas that I was focusing on, say, a year ago and more, two of them one's in Pennsylvania and the other one is in Culpeper, which is fairly close, but it's still an hour and 20 minutes away from me. But we all know what happened with the Culpeper one. There was hoaxing involved, so you kind of think, well, do I really want to go back to that place? So the other one's in Pennsylvania. It's 5 hours away, and I go to Ohio every now and again. But yeah, I don't have anything real close, so I haven't really been doing a whole lot of squatching.
That's where Bill Dranginis had his sighting, wasn't it? Culpeper County.
Yeah, it was in that general area. Yeah,
wasn't very far away.
Yeah, Connecticut's pretty dry as far as Sasquatch activity. I hear of occasional bear activity and other wildlife. I don't know, maybe Nezra gets occasional reports in Connecticut or northern Connecticut. I don't know if Kevin's working on anything or anybody up there or in that group are working on stuff or anything like that.
Bill's sighting, Henry, was probably within about 2 to 3 miles of the area that we're discussing. I've been out there. I know a general location of where it's at, and I went out there, and I tell you, the place is very interesting. It's right along some water. A lot of old structures and stuff out there. And when I say structures, I'm talking about like stone walls and foundations and all kinds of stuff out there. So pretty interesting looking area.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll let you guys go, and you guys are doing a great show. And I think Billy and DB, your guest, might have arrived. I don't know. Well, somebody say something.
I don't see him on the phone line yet, so hopefully he'll call in if he's in here.
Yeah.
that number up.
See a lot of activity happening in the forums, though, as usual, and stuff, and, you know.
That's always.
I guess there's Joe Citro, I guess, came out with a new book about Vermont cryptozoology recently, and I saw the article was on the Anonymous page today.
Right.
All right. Well,
all right.
Bill, I guess Bill and I are going to take off then. Sorry the
all
guest
right.
didn't show up, but that's just how it happens sometimes. Guests
That's
don't
how it
show
happens.
up.
Out of our control.
Yeah,
yep.
And hope other people call in.
Yep.
I'm sure they will.
All right. We will talk to you later then.
Bye.
Good night. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, let me give out that call-in number again. It's 347-237-5070. If you want to call in and bring up a subject that we can talk about, or if you want to type in a subject in the chat room too, that's fine, and DB will see it and get my attention. Phone number again is 347-237-5070. All right. So, what, DB, I guess we got to schedule us another outing so that we can maybe go back out to Partlow or something.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, we're supposed to go down there and spend the night there. But, you know, this is actually a good time for that rather than in the heat of the summer with a lot of kids all around.
Right.
Probably better.
You know what?
What?
Allison is in the chat room. Allison, if you want to call in and tell these folks about your sighting, that would be great because I know they'd love to hear it. So if you've got a chance to call in, please do so. I'll give you that phone number again if you can write it down if you want to call in. If you don't, that's fine. No, we're not pressuring you. Pressure, DB, pressure.
Call in. I
Allison,
don't know how.
The number is 347-237-5070. Only if you want to call in. Everybody would love to hear that sighting because it's a good one. Let's see. Yeah, we need to get back out there. We've got that trail camera up. We need to check that out. I'm sure that the batteries need to be changed in that. And she just typed in that her granddaughter wants to call in, I believe.
Right, there you go.
And she can give you a real good description of what she saw.
Right.
Matter of fact, that'll be very interesting.
That reminds me, did we ever mention on the air what happened that night where we were sitting out there waiting? I know it was in chat that people were laughing about it because JC says I ran away while wearing my snake boots. I did not run. I don't run in those boots because I would fall down. So I walked. But let me tell you what I was walking away from. There was a noise on the recording. It sounds like that kind of noise. I mean, there aren't many animals that can make that noise.
Right. Yeah, I know you kind of you explained to me what you had heard, and I thought that was it was quite interesting because there's not too many things out there that's going to growl or grunt at you.
Right.
So, we got a caller. Let's see who this is. Caller from the 217 area code. You're on the air.
Hey guys, this is Stan.
Hey Stan.
Hey, Stan.
How are you?
Good.
Great.
You just listening in, Stan, or?
No.
All right. What you got?
Well, I was going to try to encourage. DB has a little theory about sounds, and I'm not going to say what it is, but I'm trying to get him to write it up, and I thought maybe other people could encourage him to.
Well, I have written it up. The problem is that it's very hard to understand these things if you don't have any background in, how sound is represented in words or in pictures. Because, we hear sound with our ears, and we don't really think of it in the way that we think of things that we look at on a piece of paper or one of those what do they call those things? Spectrograms, sonograms. I forget what I'm talking about here, but when you can visualize the sound and you put some of these suspected Bigfoot calls into the programs that visualize the sound, you'll see that there are, differences between those and things that what you're looking at. Like you get a coyote call and you put that in the software, and it looks very simple, and they always look the same. I mean, there are differences, like they might do their little bits in a slightly different pitch, but when you put one coyote call and another coyote call together and you look at them both, you say, yeah, they both look pretty much the same. But when you put a suspected Bigfoot call, such as the ones that Stan and some other researchers recorded in, was it Colorado, Stan?
Right.
When you put those in the software and look at them, there are some really weird characteristics. Now, that doesn't prove that it's Bigfoot that's doing it, but what it does prove is that it's not the coyote that everybody says. They hear it, they go, oh, that's a coyote. I don't know why people say it. The first thing they say is a coyote. They don't say dog. They don't say wolf. They say, oh, that's a coyote. But it isn't a coyote if you compare them, the known coyote sounds and the way they look, and then these sounds that were recorded. And Stan got really close with his recording, so the recording is great, and you can see so much detail in it. And a couple of the characteristics that I've been looking for are multiple harmonics that are not related to each other. If I go, ah, not only is that horrible singing, but what I just did was I sang a note, and if you look at that on, if you put that out in the software program, you'll see that there are these spikes that are created, and they're evenly spaced, and they're all based mathematically on the first one. That one's called the fundamental. So let's say I just sang a note that was starting at around, 100 hertz. Then the next one you would see would be 200 hertz. Then you would see 300 hertz, 400 hertz, and so on. Well, with this suspected Bigfoot call, the weird thing that happens is you get the 100, right? And I'm making an analog here. It's not. I don't remember the exact frequency peaks. But say the first one's 100, the next one is going to be really weird. It's going to be 120 or 140. And that's not at all mathematically related to 100. And there may be a spike at 200 like there should be, but instead of it being nice and tall like you expect, like what it would look like if we recorded what I just sang, instead of looking nice and tall, it's like it's really low. Like there's not somebody says that hurts, DV. Oh, is that a joke? Or are you just telling me that in hertz? Well, that's what I get for looking at the chat room.
That's
so
right.
that little characteristic of a non-harmonic frequency spike. Harmonic means that it's a multiple of the fundamental. So if your fundamental is 100, the next one should be 200, then there should be one at 300, 400. The non-harmonic frequency spike, how does that get in there? We can't really do that. I mean, Billy, if you and I sang at the same time, we could do that, and that would be, that would be two voices doing it. So what it seems to be is that it's got weird vocal cords so that it can make more than one tone at a time, and that would also account for some of the harmonic peaks being lower, because when you're making two tones at the same time, sometimes there's interference. And if the interference, this is why it's hard to talk about, because there's all this stuff. If you read it, it's not that easy to understand. If I say it, it won't be that easy to understand. You actually have to look at the pictures and then read some of the explanations for how sound works. But it's like waves on the ocean. When you look at the waves in the ocean, there's tall peaks and then there's troughs in between. Well, if two waves are coming along in the ocean and they're at different frequencies, they don't match up, so there's a peak and a trough. If they come along and they're at similar frequencies, or they are harmonics of one another, they match up really well, and that makes one peak get taller, right? where they match up, that peak gets taller because there's more energy in it now. It's not just one wave; it's the two waves together. It's a taller peak. Well, it can also happen if they're at the at the right frequency, that the waves can hit each other where there's a peak and a valley at the same time. And what that does is it suppresses one peak. The valley suppresses the peak, so that where you expected to find a peak, now you've got a much lower peak. So that kind of in itself, I don't know if I should use the word proves, but it seems to show that there's more than one frequency being sounded. And it sounds like there's only one creature there. It happens all the time. When Stan gets these recordings, he doesn't get them often. He got them. The Illinois Howl had some of these characteristics. That was years ago. And then now these calls that are happening in Colorado, and a long gap in between, where we found some calls that might have shown those characteristics, but they weren't clear enough. They weren't recorded well enough for us to be sure. Slam 630 says that throat singers can do the same thing that you described. Well, actually, Sam, they can't do the thing that I'm describing, because when you do throat singing, you actually make your volume go down really low. So you couldn't do, there's called, I think it's tuba throat singers from Mongolia. It's something.
I've got a friend that does throat singing. Have you looked at it? Have you looked at it with your programs?
Yeah, I did that for when we were looking at the Illinois Howl. I had that article I put up. That had that in it.
It does not sound the same to me.
Well, it shouldn't sound the same, because when the humans do that, they are actually still their vocal cords are sounding one note, and then there is another tone that comes in, but it is way lower in volume.
Right.
So that there's not much it can do to the main tone, which is why it sounds kind of like a bagpipe to some people. It sounds like a bagpipe because there's a droning that goes on. It doesn't. To me,
what's very discouraging is, since you and I have listened to this so many times, I can, once somebody understands what we're talking about with the two tones, they can pick it out instantly when they hear it again. But most people don't understand. Yeah. And the Sierra tapes, I know a fellow that analyzed from the master tapes of those. And he asked Ron, he said, where was your second microphone? Ron says, what are you talking about? We didn't have two mics, we had one. And he described the same thing, that he said it sounded like stereo. And I'm not sure specifically which sounds in the Sierra tapes he was talking about, but it did. He did have the same thoughts that you did, that there's something unusual going on with these animals as far as their tones. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I did email a nationally known coyote expert, and it's very difficult because I was hesitant to tell him that I didn't think it was a coyote, because I was afraid if he knew what I suspected, he would not answer me. So anyway, his answer was that the sounds in Colorado were odd, and he thought there was something wrong with my recorder because of some of the things that were going in on there. So I did answer him and thank him for his time and try to be very diplomatic and explain to him that there had been a sighting in the area and footprints and all these other things, and I really didn't think it was a coyote. I thought it might be a squatch, and then he didn't answer. And I wasn't surprised. Right. So that's what we're up against is, you and I can talk till we're blue in the face, but it would be nice to have an academic type say no, that it is not a coyote, but they're not going to come forward and say that.
Right.
What is interesting is that area where that was recorded. One of my friends was there a week ago and heard him again. So this particular animal seems to do that particular call a lot there, but not historically. That area has been researched for years, and most of the time in the past, in fact, several of the researchers had been ran out of there, and they refused to go back, and they were getting screams and roars. They had not heard what I recorded. So,
right.
So it's just, it is unusual. So.
You know what? I think we have Allison on the line, DB.
Okay.
All right.
I'll let you guys go.
Okay, Stan. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That was interesting.
Bye.
Well, I thought it was interesting.
It was. It was definitely interesting.
My running out with the mouth might not have been interesting.
Is that you, Allison?
It is me. How are you?
Doing tonight? Good.
I'm hanging in here.
That's all we can do.
Claire was going to talk to you before she went. She's got to go to bed here in a little bit, so can't keep on the line too long, or she'll be late for school tomorrow.
That's right. You can't be having that. She's got to stay in school and be on time.
Yeah, but she said she would be willing to give you a call tonight and tell you about her experience. And
all right.
You want to?
I think everyone will love to hear it.
All right, I'll put her on right now. Do we need to cut the TV down in the background? Is it too loud?
I don't even hear it. Do you hear it?
Nope.
Okay, yeah, I think we're good.
All right.
All right.
Hello.
Hi, Claire. How you doing?
Good.
Good. I'm glad you decided to call in and tell us about what you've seen, but tell everybody your name and how old you are.
My name's Claire Haney, and I'm 11 years old.
Okay, folks, 11 years old, and tell everyone what you saw at the end of May of this year.
We were just getting back from hunting. It was about sunset, and we were coming around the road, and we saw in the field something black standing near our garden. And we couldn't quite tell what it was. My grandmother was the first to see it, and she said, "What the beep is that?"
Right.
So then, about a couple of seconds later, it just, ran. And the example I gave to everybody that everyone said was really good was it was about as tall as a basketball player, but as built as a football player.
Right, exactly. So it was skinny at the bottom and bigger up towards the top.
Yes.
Now when it ran, did it look at you all when it was running, or did it just kind of gracefully move off? Or
it kind of gracefully just moved. It wasn't even a lumpy run. It was just very smooth. It looked like it was on ice skates almost, just kind of smooth.
Right. That's very interesting. Now, just so that everyone knows, Claire, did it scare you? Are you scared to go out there? How did it affect you?
Not really, because I think it's more scared of us than we are of him.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I don't believe the thing would hurt anybody. I think sometimes they're just as curious of us as we are of them. What do you have an opinion on what you think it was doing up on the hill?
Well, a couple weeks later, I walked into the garden, and I could see a piece of squash that had claw prints on it. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a little weird, so I think it may have been eating out of the garden.
Yeah, it's probably very interested in the garden, I would say. I mean, it would be a good food supply for it. Plus, you have the pond there for water and one poor lonely duck.
Yeah.
The other ducks kind of all disappeared.
Yep, we're down to one.
Yeah, I know. And every time I go out there, he's looking for something to eat.
Yeah, we take him food every now and then.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking about it. I'm sure everyone enjoyed it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't want to keep you on too late, so you have a good day at school.
Okay.
Is Allison back?
Hello.
There she is. I told her we'd let her go to bed.
I appreciate it. She wanted to call and talk to you, so
that was great. Now we'll let you, if you don't mind, we'll let you give us your version of what all had happened and what was going on prior to the sighting.
Hello. Oh, that's when we were having a fox hunt that day. And we had turned loose about 220 foxhounds that were turned loose on that piece of property that morning at sunrise.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And like I say, everybody had pretty much gotten their dogs up. There were still a few dogs that hadn't been gotten up, and that's what we were doing, is actually looking for those stragglers, that hadn't been caught up yet. And we're in the truck. To describe the property, it's pretty wooded, but it's an open area with a pond in the bottom, and it's a clearing on each side of the pond. And we were on the far side of the pond, and I was the first to see it. I looked up, and I wear contacts, and I was kind of thinking, well, maybe my contacts are clouding up. I kind of, blinked my eyes, and I was like, what the heck is that? And about that time, my husband and Claire looked up, and, we kind of sat there just, I think, dumbfounded for a minute. I think back if we get a picture, we're probably all sitting there with all three with our mouth hanging open. And when I first saw it, it was just, slowly walking. And at first, my husband's like, is it a bear? We thought, well, maybe it's a bear. But he whipped the truck around. He was going to go down through the field and across the pond dam to try to get to it. And the minute he did that, it took off running. And it was then that we knew that's not a bear running at that. The speed is, to think that something that big can run that fast is almost unbelievable. And it got into the woods and up the wood line before we could get completely across. And, of course, none of us were going to get out of the truck and follow it into the woods. And you've seen my husband. He's a pretty big man. he was like, I'm not getting out of the truck. But, I don't know what we saw. All I can say is it's something that we've never seen before, and it definitely is, was not a bear unless there's some bear out there that can run very quickly and for long distances on two legs.
I don't think that's the case.
And
maybe a circus bear, but even they wouldn't be able to run very fast.
Right, exactly.
Well, that's definitely. I've always been intrigued by your sighting. Now, have you seen anything out there? I know y'all go out there occasionally because you got the garden out there and stuff. Have you seen any kind of prints or anything in and around the garden?
Right. Well, just I sent you a couple pictures, and I wasn't real sure. Of course, we had that big rain after the, so it's like they're kind of faded. We've got the big thing that we've got a lot of deer cams up. Of course, I fuss at my son because he doesn't leave them in one spot long enough. But we just get a lot of pictures that there's just nothing. It's just like the camera would go off for no reason whatsoever. That there's no deer or birds or anything that you can see, in the picture. Like I said, we've had a few limb breaks. But, other than that, nothing really. I mean, I won't go up there by myself anymore. I used to go up, and walk, but I won't go by myself up there anymore. But like I say, I told you we did that trail in October, and we're getting ready to do, to start working on that. So I'm hoping maybe that'll, if there's anything in there, will rustle up a little activity.
Yeah, and it could do that.
Right. My husband's convinced. He says that he thinks that they don't stay in one place. That they, this is something that we saw kind of passing through, and it's not something that's staying there on the land, so to speak. We kind of disagree.
Yeah, and that could very well be the case. I mean, I personally, I think they have like a home range. I don't think they necessarily migrate. I just think they have a range that they'll travel out, if they're looking for something in particular.
Well, like I say, I feel like it's because there's been too many other people that have seen, things in that area that they can't explain. And so that, I feel like that it's not particularly on that piece of land, but in that general area. I feel like, and we had seen some other little prints up there, but unless it was funny because we kind of laughed, and I mean it looked like a barefooted child print. But You know, I just have no way of knowing that nobody was up there with a kid that was barefoot. You know, that's not what I mean.
Right.
There are baby Bigfoot. You know, they have to be babies at one point in their life.
Right.
But you know, without knowing for sure that nobody went up there and had a kid, you know, that didn't have shoes on their feet. You know, you kind of, like I say, you have to rule out the obvious first, and that would be the most obvious.
Right. Right.
But we're keeping the cameras up, and like I say, we're hoping at some point in time we'll get something that's useful.
Right. D-Law just asked me how large is their range. In my opinion, this would definitely be strictly an opinion, because I just don't think we've collected enough data or information to even, you know, give an educated guess. But the reason I think they have a home range, and the reason I think they kind of stay around the area is, you know, we have sightings here pretty much, you know, on and off, you know, maybe every couple, 2 or 3 years, kind of in the same general area. So I'm thinking that, you know, these things do stay usually pretty deep in the woods, and I think they come out occasionally for, you know, kind of like we are. You know, we don't like to have hamburgers every day.
Right.
You know, we may occasionally want some variety in our food, and, you know,
what
better way to get a variety than to go visit somebody's trash can.
Right. Well, and the thing of it is, you know, where this piece of property is, you know, we've only got 100 acres there, but we're surrounded by almost a 2,000-acre parcel on one side and about 1,500 on the other that, you know, it's just uninhabited.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, perfect location.
Right. Oh, yeah, definitely perfect location. Got plenty of acreage there. I mean, it could be anywhere there, actually. I mean, especially when you consider all the acreage that you have there right, you know, adjoining your property.
Right.
Now, you guys had originally planned on building a home there, and I think you've kind of put that on hold, or now you're even wondering if you want to do it.
Well, like I say, I want to do it, you know, but you do have those thoughts in the back of your mind. You know, I'm going to be able to stay there by myself. Don't want to go outside in the yard at nighttime.
Right.
I guess I just have to get me a big bad doggy that'll alert me.
Well,
you know?
keep in mind, Allison, you're only a few miles down the road, so they could easily come over in your backyard now.
Right. Well, this is true, but I just like to say again, I feel that they tend to stay, you know, in these big uninhabited parcels of land. You know, where it's you know. You try to find something, you know, I don't care how big it is. You could put an elephant on 1,500 acres of wooded land, and you'd be hard-pressed to find it, you know.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot of acreage, especially the woods that you guys have over there. There's one area back there that goes back down to that pond y'all were talking about, the kind of that hidden pond back in the woods. It is thick. You don't know that you're near that pond till you get within like 20 feet of it.
Right. Well, that's what I say. The land there, you know, at my 100 acres. I mean, you saw how thick that is. I mean, you can't walk through it. You know, there's no such thing as walking through it.
No,
but,
not at all.
Whatever this thing that we saw, it certainly didn't faze it a bit. It just, you know, right in, and it's like it didn't even slow it up.
The JC wanted me to tell you hello, Allison.
Will you tell him hello? I'm glad to hear he's feeling better.
Yeah, me too. He had me worried there for a little while.
Yeah, I'm glad.
But then when he got back to his back when he got to his picking ways, I knew he was fine.
He was fine. There you go. I'll tell him I look forward to
Allison, thanks a lot for calling in, and people love to hear, you know, straight from the eyewitness's mouth, you know, what they saw and.
Well,
and all
like
that.
I say, I think I told you, if I had been by myself, I don't think I would have even told a soul. I would think I was hallucinating or something, but being that 2 other people witnessed it, you know, I feel a little more confident coming out and saying, okay, I saw this, and if you don't believe me, here's 2 more people that were with me. Because people do, they think you're nuts, you know.
Yeah, I know.
But, you know, all 3 of us were definitely not on any drug that day, or, you know.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and again, that's what makes the sighting so much more, you know, great, is that, you know, there were 3 eyewitnesses.
Right.
You know, and your granddaughter gives such great detail about what she saw, and when you hear her talk about it, I mean, it's just amazing.
Right.
So.
Right. I don't know if she shared it with any of her friends at school yet or not. Like I say, of course she's talked about it with family and close friends, but I don't know if she's actually shared that with her schoolmates yet. I'll have to ask her.
Right.
But like I say, I'll check your cameras soon, and like I said, we've got some we're going to be checking, and if we find anything new, I will definitely keep you posted.
Oh yeah, and we'll be in touch with you because we're going to have to come back up there soon. So.
Okay, just let me know.
Thanks a lot, Allison.
All right, good talking to you.
Yep, have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, DB, you still with us?
Yeah, just got to turn myself
off
mute there. So, we got a Bigfoot wandering around in Spotsylvania County. Is that where that was? Somewhere.
Yep, that was Partlow, Virginia, which is Spotsylvania County. That was, of course, that area that we were at, me, you, and JC. We got to get back out there again, I tell you.
Yep.
I think there's something.
But you know what? Even though that weird thing happened that night, we were there about a week after the original sighting, right?
Yeah.
About a week?
Actually, about 2 weeks, I believe.
2 weeks.
Because it was right at the end of May when they had it.
Right. You couldn't tell from the sound that I got what kind of animal made it. I think I said it was like I think it was more like breathing out with a little bit of vocalization, like that. Kind of like what you would do if you were glad something went your way, like whew, that kind of thing.
Right.
And I read that bears will do that, so it could have been a bear in there. Which is, I still was standing right next to it, whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly. Bear, Bigfoot, wasn't matter. You were still right there.
And that's like the story of my life. I'm standing right next to him all the time, and I don't see nothing. Some guy beside me sees it, and I don't see anything.
You know what? I didn't even notice we got another caller.
All right.
Caller from the 651 area code. You're on the air.
Hey, Billy and DB. It's Abe with Minnesota Bigfoot Research Team. I just had a couple of questions for Allison, to tell you the truth. I was kind of interested as far as the locomotion of the creature that they've seen. I was kind of wondering how it kind of ran off. I know.
Yeah, she's still in the chat room, so she could probably answer as she's listening. So go ahead and ask the question again, and maybe she'll type it in for us.
Okay, Alice, I was kind of wondering, when you guys seen the creature kind of walk or run away, how was its arm swinging, or how was it kind of holding its upper torso? How was its arm? Was it kind of hunkering over as it was running? Was it standing erect while it was running? How were the arms swinging? Were the arms by its side still? Were the arms kind of up, up by the chest area, with the arms kind of elbows tucked under the armpit area, kind of. And she'll probably type in the answer, or she can even. I mean, if she wants to call back in, she can.
Don't forget, there's a 10-second delay though. So 10 seconds after you finish your question, that's when she'll start to hear it.
Right.
Yep. I hear you there. And the other question was her garden. I was wondering if she was missing any type of anything that she planted out of her garden. Just simple facts that I've came across a couple of reports where people have been missing certain type of vegetables out of their garden, stuff like that. And I was wondering if she was missing anything out of her garden as well.
Yeah, I'm typing to her at the same thing, or at the same time. She was just now talking about it, how she says it was the most graceful run she'd ever seen. Hard to believe something that large could be that graceful. So I'm asking her, did you notice anything about the arms? And we'll see what she has to say about that. And all right, she says that it was walking at first. Then when it saw us turn the truck towards it, it started running. So
I guess was it? Yeah, when it was running, was it like running like a track star where they kind of pump their arms up and down like that, or were they kind of like a jogger where they sometimes just have their hands out in front of them and kind of waddle back and forth? Was it in the full like swinging motion as far as the arms, or were the arms kind of tucked up under the armpit and close to the midsection while it was running kind of stabilized?
She said the arms were moving, held bent at the elbows.
Okay.
So it sounds like very similar to us.
Yeah, held bent at the elbows.
Kind of like when we jog.
Mm-hmm. And these creatures are unbelievably fast.
Oh yeah.
As far as her garden, was she missing any type of vegetation or plants out of her garden? Has she, been notice of anything being uprooted or dug out?
She says no, not jogger-like, so it must have been different.
Okay. Would she say kind of like on the Memorial Day footage? Everybody's pretty familiar how that creature was running.
Right.
And from what it looked like to me, when that creature was running, it kind of had its arm or its elbows kind of close to its midsection as it was running off.
Right.
I was
She says she always has things missing from the garden, but we just assumed it's other creatures since we don't see any prints, and feel Bigfoot would leave a print.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I kind of agree with her, because when you walk around that garden, I can see everyone else that's been in there. The last time I was up there, I mean, you could see, where people have been in there, with their shoes on.
Oh, yeah.
So if they leave an impression, then we know this creature's going to leave an impression. Now, The bad thing is the last time I was up there, we had a lot of rain. So with that soil up there, it would only take one rain up there to just clear everything out, just because of the way the soil is up there.
Oh, okay. It's pretty loosely packed soil then.
It's loosely packed, especially down towards the pond. There's a lot of sand and a lot of washed out gullies going towards the pond and everything. So yeah, if you had a rain down there, it would just wash everything out.
Now, when you and DB and JC were up there, and when you guys were walking the property, did you guys ever happen to know of any stick formations, tree signs of any kind?
No, we never saw anything like that. Matter of fact, that was one of the things that we were kind of looking around for when we went down to the little, it's like a hidden pond back in the woods, and we were that was one of the particular things that we were kind of looking for as we went down there. Surprisingly enough, we never saw anything that we would consider any kind of tree sign. You don't remember seeing anything either, do you, DB?
No, but I do remember the story that her husband told about the fox feeder he had. And that fox feeder was unique because it was made out of steel or iron or something. It was really heavy. It was big, and it was about 8 feet long, and it's a big, heavy thing. I would not have been able to pick that thing up. What he would do is he would dump the regular dog food right down in the middle of it, and it's made so that, it has small openings that, a raccoon or a fox can get in there, but something bigger can't get in there to get the food. So the foxes will find it, and they'll eat that food. And he kept finding it upended and all the food out of it. It's not only is it heavy on it by itself, but also he's got this spike thing in the ground, too. It's supposed to help hold it down. And he would find it upended in the food out of it. And before he had seen a Bigfoot, he just thought that there were some neighbors messing with him, because there wouldn't be any reason to do that. Nobody wants that dog food that he was putting in there. But then after he saw the Bigfoot, he started thinking, that might have been significant, because, it really doesn't make sense that my neighbors would come over there and tip that up like that.
Right. Yeah.
Plus they'd have to use their tractor. I mean, that's the way he moves the things around, is with the tractor. I mean, that thing being a good, 250, 300 pounds.
It would take a couple of guys to move it. You could not move one person. Couldn't move it. They'd be strong guys, too.
They'd have to be, and especially with that stake in the ground kind of anchoring it down, too, I suppose. Wow,
yeah, right.
That's amazing. Yep. That's amazing. All right, well, Yeah, I guess that's pretty much all I had for as far as questions or anything like that. Thanks for taking my call. You two, as always, has been a pleasure. Other than that, I guess I'll just wait for the rest of the show and put me back on mute. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you, Abe.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, we definitely need to get back out there, DB. You know, it's you know what I'd like to do. We talked to Allison about this. I'd like to recreate the night and go out there and let them set all those foxhounds loose. See if we can.
I think that was just a lucky thing. But if they've been going there because of the fox feeding, and we told the guy, we'll start feeding the foxes again. Let's see if that happens again. And we haven't heard the story of, he hasn't said anything about it happening again. So I would guess that it hasn't happened again. I think what might have happened is that they were using that area just for, a little bit of scavenging. But, that one knows it got seen because the truck turned around and they followed it. And so they probably said, well, we're not going back there anymore.
Right. She said they just turned 254 dogs loose on Saturday. So, yeah, we'll, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to go up there and try to recreate it. But, again, it might be one of those things where we want to recreate it around the same time of year. I've thought about that often too. Especially with like our Catharpin, Virginia site is, trying to, it seems like there's just certain seasons or something that there seems to be activity in some of these places. So, and again, here lately with the Catharpin site, it's getting close to that time, and I've noticed since I've been checking the cameras, DB, that we're not getting the amount of wildlife pictures that we were getting during the spring and summer. Mm-hmm. The wildlife, the deer, and all the other things that we were getting have went down substantially. We were getting anywhere from 30 to 40 videos, every 2 weeks. And when I went out and checked it last time, after about 2 weeks, there was 3.
Yeah. So they're not in the area. They've left.
Something strange. Something strange. Now, I think I mentioned this too on the show. Here the past couple times I've been out there, actually more than that. I lose track of time, but I personally constructed a little stone structure out there and just started leaving things. And every time I go up there, this thing's dismantled or changed in some way, and what I leave there is gone. And I went back there last time, and something was put back under the base rock. I mean, just something's messing around.
Yeah.
So.
And is that in an area where a person would find it hard to come across it?
Have I had you? Were you out there? I think you.
I've been out there once, but you didn't show me the rock place.
Well, I had done that way afterwards. Anyway, I didn't have any of that set up, but it's kind of down. Well, you remember the house? It's down behind the wood line, probably I would say 50, 60 feet back into the wood line, between 2 game trails. Back there, halfway between the wood line and the creek down at the bottom. So yeah, I mean, sure, somebody could walk through there and and find it, but
but it's not just laying out in the middle of anywhere. I mean, because there were people that you took pictures of them walking through there, but they were on the game trails.
Right, they were up where the game the trail camera is probably a good 100 plus feet away from where I've built the stone structure. Mm-hmm. And it's further up the hill, closer to the house on the main game trail. We put that right there by one of the strange stick structures that we saw that appeared between the time that we had been out there and wasn't there before. And that was one of the main reasons we placed it there, and it's been there ever since. So, we'll find out. We'll find out what what's if we have to, we'll put a camera facing that that stone stack and kind of keep an eye on that, see if anything bothers it, see what's bothering it.
Well, you know what? One thing that I've been tempted to try in a situation like that, or someplace where you think they're coming around, some kind of, I'll use the word habituation scenario. You get an area about 4 by 4 square, and you fill it with some good sand, and then you put some sticks down so that you break it up into four bits, and in those four, and then you wet it, and in one of those quadrants you put something, like maybe you draw like a stick picture or something, and then see what happens in the other ones. It will something come along and put. Now, of course, you got to put that where other people aren't going to find it, because if a person finds that, he'll look down there and see your stick man, and he'll go, "Well, of course I'll draw a stick man over here," So it's got to be someplace where people can't find it. But I would like to offer opportunities to use more advanced expression just to see if we could get an answer.
Right. Yeah, Allison just reminded me of something I had forgotten about. You remember, when you come into her property, as you remember, there's like 2 little forked, like gravel paths that come in off that main road, the asphalt road.
Right.
And then, as you remember, you get back to the gate and then go through the gate. Right. As you remember, all of that is open. That's all just open grass. The last time that I went up there, when I put the trail camera up, there was a huge tree limb laying right in the middle of the road. There's no tree there. I just now remembered that because she just said something in the chat. I'd forgotten all about it. But one of the little roads coming off the asphalt road where there's no trees, none, there was a huge tree limb just laying right in the middle of it, almost like blocking it. Which was, I found that pretty interesting. And of course, she saw it too when she went up there, but I don't know.
Somebody did it. It might have been some big hairy guy, but somebody did it.
Yeah.
Well, that reminds me of my favorite story. That one of the things that, because I've had all these things happen that I'm near, possibly near a Sasquatch, and I don't see anything. Well, one night I was in Ohio, and I had recorded what has been called the Eastern Central Ohio chatter, something like that. And which, by the way, might be a hoax. We have no idea. There was a guy there who was involved in later hoaxes, and he might have figured out a way to do something naughty. But there were other things that were going on that weekend, and one of the things that happened before what I'm going to tell you about was somebody had gone to Arby's, and they brought back, their nice roast beef sandwich, but they weren't ready to eat it yet, so they laid it inside their cooler, and it was still wrapped up like it should be. And when they came back, the wrapper was outside the cooler. Not the whole thing, only half of the sandwich was taken, but the wrapper was outside the cooler. So something had opened the cooler up, taken out half the sandwich, unwrapped it, and eaten it, or whatever, at least took it away. Now, there were raccoons there, but that's not what a raccoon would do. A raccoon, if it got into your cooler, was going to bust into the sandwiches right there and eat the paper or, chew through the paper. He's not going to unwrap the paper and lay it out neatly on top of your cooler after he closes the lid again. So that was either, one of our guys saying, I'm going to play a trick on you. Or, that might have been an interesting thing. Now, if nothing else had happened, we'd figure that, no need to bring it up again. But that was the same night that we recorded the possible vocalizations. And then we came back to camp, and this is really late, like 2 o'clock in the morning, and we played it for everybody so they could all hear it. And they were all very impressed. But, 2 o'clock in the morning when you've been marching around all day, you get kind of tired. And we did think that campsite that we had picked was a good place to be if you thought they might come and check you out. So we didn't mind. We'll just go lay down and see what happens. So everybody says, okay, we're gonna turn in. And, of course, my famous snake boots come into this because they are very tall. They're 16 inches, and it takes you a while to unlace those things. So,
right.
you know, most everybody else is already in their sleeping bag, and I'm still unlacing my dang boots. Well, anyway, this young lady comes running up. I was in a trailer, a pull-along thing that pops up and it's a camper, and I was in there with the guy who was leading the thing. And the young lady comes, and she wants to get him because he's the leader. She's not coming for me. I'm not saying I'm a hero, okay? I'm just pointing that out.
Right.
She's coming to get his attention. He also has a thermal imager. She says, "Listen, I think something is by my tent, and it threw something at me." So we're like, "Oh yeah, okay, we're gonna go." So I got to lace my boots back up again. He gets out of his. He was already asleep. He gets out of his sleeping bag and puts his gear back on, but my flashlights are in my car. So I'm thinking, I am not going to open the car and have all those lights come on because whatever is out there will be running off into the woods and not getting into that. So I didn't get any flashlights. So we're going out there, and all we've got is the thermal imager. But it's, if your eyes have adjusted at night, you can see pretty well as long as you're in the open, if you're not under the trees. So we were seeing fine as we went out there. We go back to where her tent is, and we look around. And we don't see anything, but we can see where you would, most easily go if you're going to leave that area. I'm getting out of here. Now, this whole area is surrounded by a steep ditch. It was a strip mine, but they did this weird circular thing. I guess they were following a vein or something, and they did this circular thing. And this campsite is up in the middle of it. It's like a horseshoe, and so we're surrounded by this what amounts to like a moat pit. And we know that if something has left, it's got a lot of work to do to get out of that moat pit, and you would hear it. So we thought we need to hurry up and get to the edge of that and look down in that with the thermal imager because it'll still be down in there. So we're going over the edge as fast as we can. Of course, it's dark, and we don't want to pitch over the edge ourselves. But as we start getting close, I happen to be looking up, and there is some light in the sky from a little bit of moon or stars or something. You can see the sky, and you can see the trees in front of the sky. You know what that's like if you look up in the dark and your eyes are adjusted. You can see the sky between the branches of the trees. I just happen to be looking up at that moment, and there's suddenly this sound like really loud, and into my view comes this, you would call it like a log. It's going up, and then it hits the top of this tree, and you whack, and then it starts falling, tap, 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 on its way down.
Right.
And, I am not the bravest guy in the world. If somebody throws something that I would call a log at me, I get the message. All right, okay, you don't want me coming. I'll stop right here. Okay, I'm not going to push it. And so we did. We stopped. I mean, I think almost anybody would stop under those circumstances because it was clearly much heavier than anybody could have thrown that high, and certainly not at that speed. It went up there like a rocket. Right. So, we stopped going. But see, now that right there is information, which I wish, that gets you so excited and you start thinking of other things and you forget. I wish that we had taken the thermal imager and gone and looked for that log.
Yep.
Because it still would have had the warmth of the hand on there. This was early on. It used thermal imagers, and I think neither one of us really thought of that.
That's right.
We did look on the ground for footprints, and we couldn't see anything anywhere where it would have been if it was harassing the girl. But it might not have gotten as close as she thought. It could have chucked a rock from further on out. But anyway, the speed with which that log went up into that tree, and the fact that it was that heavy a log, there's no way a person could have done that without some kind of, tool. And there wasn't anybody down in that ditch with a tool. Right. So, now I can't tell you it was a Sasquatch that did that, but this is an area where Sasquatches are frequently seen. And footprints have been found, and, vocalizations have been recorded. So, I don't think it's a humongous step to think that's possibly related to a Sasquatch.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny how we think back of, what should I have done.
Oh, I'm constantly doing that.
Always doing that. I mean, you're always like, why didn't I do this, Why didn't I do it?
It is weird. I know that there was one time there were three of us out in a Jeep, and we had gone out there, of course, to look for Bigfoot. and we heard a really loud snap, like someone just broke a tree. And we were in the Jeep, but it was open, and we were there for that purpose. It was late and we were tired, but not one of us thought, well, let's get out of the Jeep and chase that down, because we were in the Jeep and we were kind of leaving. So the next morning I was like, what happened? Why didn't we get out, you know? Right.
Right. You know, that was Allison just mentioned that one thing that she had forgot to mention, and I do remember us discussing this, is some of the dogs that disappear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've heard that before too, you know, particularly in Culpeper. So, yeah, that Bigfoot doesn't seem to like dogs for some reason.
No. Doesn't like dogs.
I think it's
It
because
like
they're
cats,
an early
but
warning.
That's a snack.
Yeah.
Cats are a snack. Dogs are, you know, a nuisance.
Yeah, she says we've still got a guy who has a tracking collar beeping in the woods. We can't get to because the woods are so thick. Many times dog and collar just vanish into thin air. So, well, if he would just pick up the collar and at least take it with him, then we could find him.
Yeah.
Maybe we could surround the collar with peanut butter. Maybe he'll devour it.
That reminds me of the story that Stan told a while ago. He had a GPS and he lost it, and James Bump lost his GPS. Of course, this was when he was leaving a recorder out in a certain area, and he would just move the recorder different places, record for a certain, like maybe a week or 2 weeks or something. And about a month later, over where his recorder is, or near where his recorder is, he finds the GPS. But it's not where he had lost it. How did it get next to his recorder?
Yep. He was doing him a favor.
Things that make you go.
That was nice of him. Oh, let's see. Good gosh, we've only got 3 minutes left already.
What happens when we start running off?
Even when we don't, we're running off with the mouth. We just didn't think, you know. Sometimes you think if you don't have a guest, you ain't gonna have nothing to talk about. But we can kill 90 minutes like it's nothing.
Yeah, I might have repeated a few stories people have heard before, though. I apologize if I've done that. I can never remember.
That's all right.
I haven't.
That's okay. Well, anyway, next week. I have just confirmed that next Monday night we will have, we're inviting Craig Woolheater and Monica Rollins back, just as we did last year. We're going to let them do a what do we want to call it, a pre-conference show.
Right.
Because the Texas conference is coming up, so next Monday night, we'll have Craig and Monica on to tell us what's going on at the Texas conference this year. Tell us about who they've got lined up and some of the talks that they're going to have. So we'll have them on next week for that. Just got confirmation just a few minutes ago, actually. So that's what we will be doing next Monday night. We've got about a minute left of the show, and I'm trying to think if I've forgotten anything to mention. You think of anything, DB, that I forgot to mention?
No, I didn't think there was anything you did have to mention. I mean, there's that part where you say what day it is. That's all I can, and we already did that. The only thing we have to mention. Identify the show, say what day it is, and hey, the rest of it is, whatever you want. That's
right. We did that early on. Well, I hope Tim's okay. Tim didn't show up. I hope he's all right. I'm hoping that he just simply forgot and not, something happened. Obviously something didn't happen. So anyway, Tim, if you listen to this in archive, we hope you're all right. Give me a call and just let me know that everything's all right, and I'll probably try to call him tomorrow. Yep, we'll have to do that. And let's see, that's really all I've got. We've only got a few more seconds. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to the show tonight. we love each and every one of you, except for, maybe JC or Irish guy or something. I'm not sure, but,
I love to hit them with the band stick. The mod stick, however we're going to put that.
Slam wants to know is there going to be a Virginia Bigfoot meeting anytime. That's something we've been discussing, Slam. Actually, it's funny that you bring it up. We're getting ready to go off live, so you'll have to listen to the archive. But we have kind of went back and forth about having a Bigfoot conference in Virginia. It takes a lot of planning, believe me. I've talked to people who do it. Eric Altman is a prime example. He's done quite a few of the conferences, and I know that it's a very stressful thing to deal with. So you definitely have to have a lot of volunteers and a lot of people to help you out in scheduling something like that. But yeah, we would love to have a conference in Virginia because a lot of folks don't go to some of the conferences because of the distance. And quite frankly, the only conferences that I have seen in Virginia at all on anything strange would be, paranormal conferences, which I've seen take place like down in Virginia Beach, Norfolk area.
Right.
I've never seen anything around here like that, unless you have, DB. I've never seen anything like that around here.
I think there's some.
But we would. I think we could draw a pretty good crowd, like from the Maryland, West Virginia, and maybe even down North Carolina area.
Yeah, you could hold it in Richmond, someplace central to the state where people in Virginia from down south, where there are a lot of good stories, and we don't get all. The stories. Where it's not too far for anybody to drive, and the problem is it takes a lot of work, like you said, and nobody who's in the the hierarchy of the Sasquatch Watch of Virginia is really wanting to take on that load of work. So what we really need is for somebody who likes to do that sort of thing, who would then come on and organize. And, we would never have any problem finding people to talk at the place.
Right. No, and I don't think you would. I mean, really. So that I don't think would be an issue. So anyway, I guess we will go ahead and call it a night. Again, thanks everyone for listening and tuning in. DB, thanks for being here and being a great co-host as always.
And thank you for being the great host that you are.
All right, and we will call it a night, and good evening, everybody.
All right, see you next week.
A legend silently stalks the forest around the world, leaving giant man-like footprints in its wake. Skeptics scoff, while the true believers search for the answers, and those who have seen it will never forget. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, Blog Talk Radio. Billy Willard and the Blog Squatcher present Sasquatch Watch Radio. Your hosts Billy Willard and DB Donlin bring you 60 minutes of the latest news and information, newly discovered evidence, and interviews with those searching for the truth and those who have seen it. Do you believe? Want to know the truth? It's out there waiting. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Blog Talk Radio. Sasquatch Watch Radio. Sit down, hold on tight, get ready, because it is about to go down. blogtalkradio.com/Sasquatch Watch Radio.
Breast milk science. It's a thing, and it's our thing. We're ByHeart. We're an infant formula company on a mission to get a lot closer to the most superfood on the planet, breast milk. Our patented protein blend has more of the important and most abundant proteins found in breast milk. We're the first and only U.S.-made formula to use organic, grass-fed whole milk, not skim. We make our formula in our own factories in Iowa, Oregon, and Pennsylvania, using a small batch manufacturing process that works to preserve the integrity of our ingredients. We ran the largest clinical trial by a new infant formula company in 25 years, and clinically proved benefits like easier digestion, less gas, and softer poops versus a leading infant formula. We were the first infant formula company to earn the Clean Label Project Purity Award. And while we put a lot into ByHeart, there's a long list of things you won't see on our ingredient list, like no corn syrup, no maltodextrin, no GMO ingredients, no soy, no palm oil. ByHeart, a better formula for formula. Learn more at byheart.com.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.